Hello, everybody. Welcome to this month's meeting of the Department of Alcoholic Beverage Services Commission. My name is Tara Tui. I'm the chair of the commission until they tell me I'm not anymore. We're going to go ahead and get started with today's meeting. It's January 25th, 2024 at 10 a.m. Thank you to this multi-agency state office building that we're in today. It's a new location for us, and I think it's a pretty nice setup. Just a reminder, if you end up coming to the microphone to tap to turn it on, and you'll have to speak very close to the microphone to be able to be heard. So let's get started today with the Pledge of Allegiance from Craig. Please stand. We've got a few announcements about our future meetings. Our next commission meeting will be February 29th. The following meeting will be March 28th. And just as a reminder, our meetings for 2024 will be in this location. We also have some holiday closures coming up. DABS administrative offices and state liquor stores and the warehouse will be closed on Monday, February 19th to observe Washington and Lincoln Day. Those wishing to offer public comments, please sign up on the form located near the door over here. Those participating virtually, please email your name, city, topic, and affiliation to hotline@utah.gov. Comments will be addressed at the very end of the meeting today. And with that, we'll move to our financial update from Sean.
Morning, Commissioners. Thank you for inviting me to present the DABS December 2023 fiscal year 2024 financials. This past December, retail sales totaled $59.8 million, while December 2022 brought in $70.7 million. And while it seems like prior year revenue was higher, it was actually due to the fact that December 2023 had 4 weeks in the fiscal month. 2022's December had 5 weeks. Normalizing these numbers against average days sales, this most recent December had daily sales of 2.6 million, and the prior year's figures were 2.4 million per day, which was a 6.5% increase this year over last. Year-to-date revenues this year, 297.7 million, while last year's to-date numbers were 297.9 million. We're again averaging for daily sales. This year is up about 1% overall year-to-date. After all expenses and transfers, last month's expected contribution to the general fund, or our net income, in the form of liquor profit transfer, is expected to be about $11.7 million. Do I have any questions?
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you,
Good
Doug.
morning, Commissioners. It's been 11 years since January was first declared Parents Empowered Month, first by former Governor Herbert, and then last year, Governor Cox renewed that declaration. So for Parents Empowered Month, it's an opportunity for the DABS and Parents Empowered to really inform parents and caregivers about the negative consequences of underage drinking. And really, there are many negative consequences that come from underage drinking. So I wanted to point out that not only are there, short and immediate acute consequences, but certainly long-term consequences as well. And prior to prior commission meetings, I've shared with you how Utah's underage use rates are declining and they're at all-time lows now, which is great. That's good. But we still have a lot of work to do. And I'd like to share with you a statistic that we are posting in our state liquor stores. And we've also sent these little stickers, and they're just small. Here's one right here. But we're asking type 2, 3, and 5 package agencies to voluntarily post this message in their agencies as well. But let me read to you what this statistic says. It says 49% of Utah kids who drink underage do so at home with their parents' permission. Underage drinking, even while supervised, is not safe. Keep their brains healthy and their futures bright. Set clear no underage drinking rules. Learn more at parentsempowered.org. And while that statistic is very concerning to us, because we know the research and how alcohol can really impact our young kids' lives. So that's what's going up in our state liquor stores. I also wanted to mention, since our communication director sent out a news release, Executive Director Clayson has received 7 requests for interviews, to talk about underage drinking prevention. And she's made time on her busy schedule to do all of those interviews. So we thank Director Clayson for her support and her time. And then lastly, I wanted to give a shout out to our Wendover Prevention Group. I mentioned at last month's meeting that they were planning a New Year's Eve, an alcohol-free, not free alcohol, New Year's Eve event. And they shared that with our group. We call them community partnership projects. And they came to report on that. And it was just fun to hear their excitement in their voices to be able to put on an alcohol-free event on New Year's Eve in Wendover. And as you know, there's 2 Wendover cities. There's Utah, Wendover, and Wendover, Utah, and then also West Wendover in Nevada. But they share the same problems, right? And their issues are many out there. They've got a lot of challenges. So they told us the event went well. They had youth dance and community dance at their community center. They did a big reveal of our Parents Empowered banners. They had a dinner and games for the kids. And then at midnight, they all went out to the salt flats and let these luminary lanterns take off. And they were so worried. Deanna Grossman is the prevention coordinator out there. And Chris Palantakis, I believe it is, she's a city council member. They kind of led this effort. Anyhow, they said they were surprised when over 400 people showed up out at the salt flats to light these lanterns. And they had the fire department, police, highway patrol, community members, just a lot of people, businesses represented out there. And so they were really happy and excited that this is their first annual. So they're hoping to do it next year as well. So just wanted to report that they had a good event, and just fun to see that the community responded to an alcohol-free event out there. So that's about it. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. Any questions for Doug, commissioners? Great. Moving on to our operations update, Director Clayson.
Great. Thank you, Chair Tui. Quickly, just want to touch on permits. As you know, you all take care of the awarding and allocation of licenses. One of the things that falls preliminarily under my purview are the single event permits, temporary beer permits, special event permits. And this is something that our staff processes these applications, make sure that, all of the proper control measures are in place. I preliminarily approve them. And of course, they go to the commission for, additional approvals. And these are really great because these are licensees. These are also, though, mostly like nonprofits and organizations that are putting on events. In some cases, for some organizations, these permits are tied to perhaps like the only fundraiser in a community, and a way for them to, raise revenue and resources for really important things. So I just wanted to collect some data and report back to you that in 2022, we issued 873 permits. Last year, for 2023, we issued 1,024 permits. And we are already in the hundreds of permits issued for this year. We're in the middle of Sundance right now here in the state of Utah, and that has been very activated. And so we have a lot of events and programming related to that, along with a lot of other different endeavors this time of year. So I just thought it'd be a good opportunity to remind you guys of a decision the department made to kind of restructure and reallocate personnel and how we did that. It used to be a duty that was mainly done by someone, but really shared by a couple of people. We now have un-FTE, unemployee, that is their main and primary responsibility, is to be available, to answer questions and be proactive and to process those applications, because we are seeing such a huge increase year over year in these types of applications. So we want to make sure that we are meeting the public, meeting the needs of these folks that need these permits, but we also want to make sure that the proper public safety considerations are being vetted and being done so that these events are indeed safe. And it's a great reminder too, for anyone that is either attending in person here today or listening online. If you are an entity or a licensee who regularly or who never, but might be planning this year to host an event where you'll need a permit to serve alcohol, please reach out to our office. Again, we have a dedicated staff member who is there to help you answer questions, help you navigate that process. But most importantly, we need that paperwork and that application in as much advance time as you can provide it, because sometimes you might be missing paperwork from the local jurisdiction, the city of somewhere, and we can help you even navigate that process too. But there are times, even recently, where we get applications really very late in the process. And then if you run into a hiccup, you need local consent, but the local jurisdiction doesn't have time to provide that. Your event that you've spent potentially months or a year planning is at jeopardy for not having that alcohol service component. So I appreciate you giving me a second just to cover permits, one from an operations perspective, and two is kind of a PSA. Please get these applications in a timely manner. We're happy to process them, but we can't process them so quickly that we're not doing our public safety job and obligation.
Director Clayson, I think we've got a question from Commissioner Hughes.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks very much. That's very helpful information, Director. Is it possible to quantify, once an applicant is made, what's the average turnaround? I recognize that there are times when, like you said, we didn't get everything all together and we've got our event coming up, but if someone is planning well in advance and they know they've got an event, what kind of turnaround does the department provide?
If we have an application that is complete and has all of the accompanying signatures and entities signing off and authorized, really it just takes a matter of a couple of days on our end. But sometimes we do get, like I mentioned, those applications where they thought they understood what local consent meant, but they didn't quite. So we have to help refer them back to, like, let's say Salt Lake City or Park City or somewhere to handle that. And that could take a week or more. And so statute asks that we receive those applications 30 days in advance. And I will tell you, we run up statute also dictates that we can't, law enforcement must have an approved application 3 business days before an event is to take place. So at some point, that's where our hands become tied from a matter of law, where even if we wanted to issue the permit and can turn it around even in a couple of hours, we can't in some circumstances. Is that helpful?
So the pending approval, the pending approval of a special event, so that you have to build in that additional 3 days that local law enforcement has to be notified that this special event is going to occur. And hopefully they've already had their local permits in place, and that's not a surprise to local law enforcement. But then they are advised from the department that we're going to approve this. Here's the status of this. But they need 3 days. And the statute, that's directed in statute?
Yes, that is in statute.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
Of course. And then moving quickly, it is legislative session. We have been on the Hill already. The department has given its annual appropriations committee. We're on the Business and Economic Development and Labor Appropriations Subcommittee. So we gave our presentation on last Friday. It was great. We were able to provide an overview of sort of, a year in review with statistics related to our operations, our finances, as well as look at the funding requests we have before the legislature this year. That all is going really well. Of course, we don't at the DABS make policy. Of course, we operationalize policy that is made during session. And so we have been up like following policy matters and just keeping on top of things, providing feedback when we're asked about those policy matters, knowing that we are responsible in most instances in some way, either to execute the policy that's made or to oversee it from a regulatory perspective with compliance. So we're tracking that. If you have any questions, happy to answer those questions offline. Lastly, and then we'll turn it over to Cade. We have some employee survey results that are really exciting. We share this as a part of our Beetle presentation, but a recent DABS employee survey showed that 83% of our employees say they're either extremely happy or somewhat happy at work. So I thought this should be celebrated because as we've been doing these annual surveys now, that metric, that number is continuing to improve. It's a shout out, of course, to I think the funding on compensation that the legislature provided a couple of years ago. But a promise that I made a couple of years ago was to take that investment the legislature made and make sure we could maximize it. And while it is important to be properly compensated, so you can keep the lights on, you can buy your kids new shoes, like all of the things that our employees, especially our retail employees, need to do, like we all need to do. We also know that people work and stay at a job for things other than just compensation. And so they need to feel bought in, they need to feel valued, they need to feel developed, and they're at a place they want to be more long-term. And so I really just want to give a shout out to improved onboarding and training and employee development that our team has been doing at the DABS, because I do think that in addition to the compensation advancements have really worked to maximize our employee satisfaction outcomes. Also, our turnover is down at 71%. So we also don't want to rest on our laurels to have turnover at 71. In retail, turnover is, significantly high, especially in a really well-performing state in terms of unemployment like our state enjoys. But we do want to continue to chip away, see that turnover brought down. But when you think about turnover rates of upwards 120%, I mean, being at 71% is pretty good, especially in this labor market. So that's what I've got to report to you. And Kate has a couple of items as well.
Thank you, Tiffany. I'll just cover quickly for you all. A lot of exciting things are happening, including some of our store construction projects. So in working closely with our partners at DFCM, we've been able to develop prototypes for future developments that I think are going to enhance and improve as we move forward with these construction jobs. Just to let you know real quick, obviously we're working in Moab, West Ogden or Marriott Slaterville, Roy, Park City, downtown, Foothill, Sugar House. All of these areas are areas in which we are developing either putting in a new store or we're converting one of our older stores. We may be relocating that store or redoing that store. So some exciting news, which is our downtown location. It's definitely moving along. We had a fun time yesterday where we were able to tour it, see how the project's coming along. It's a first of its kind because it'll be a 2-story building. Obviously there's limited space in downtown, and this helps us maximize that space and still be able to offer the right product down there. So we're excited about that. We anticipate May or June of this year to see that construction finalized. And so it's interesting that one of the factors that is stopping us is getting the elevators and in the supply chain. So we're working through that, but that is kind of just a fun project and something that we'll obviously announce and let you know about, but looking forward to that opportunity there. And then also wanted to cover our distribution center expansion project. This is moving along. It's gone through programming now, which is usually the first major step that we have to go through in the building of a project of this size. And we're moving into schematic design, which is where we now dig in and the architects are digging in and making sure that, you know, our concepts and our designs and our thoughts all come to fruition. So a big part of this job is the material handling equipment that will exist in the warehouse, and that has to be then have a building built around those so it can accommodate some of the efficiencies that we're looking forward to in the future. That is a 2+ year project and process. So that's going on track so far, and we anticipate that'll really be the backbone and success of our future operations here at the DABS. And then I wanted to cover real quick just an update on what we call SIM, or our Store Inventory Management System. This is a project that we've been working for a while. It's an app that goes on our scan guns inside of the stores that helps them be just more efficient, helps them know where product is located, and to be able to fill that product and put it back and do restocking, that kind of stuff. So this app is currently rolled out to 2 stores. It's now moving forward with plans to put it in all stores as we move throughout the remainder of this fiscal year. So we're looking forward to that project. It's an efficiency project that will help us better serve our customers. So we're looking forward to its finalization. And with that, that includes my report.
Have a comment. While we're talking about our stores,
Speak closer, just for the people online. Thank you.
I
Commissioner.
always feel like my voice is so loud without a microphone, but anyway, so while we're talking about stores and operations, I just want to give a shout out to our store employees, because as Cade and Vicky and Tiffany know, one of the highlights of my week is when I receive the weekly report that gives us the statistics on customer service surveys. And we all know that we don't usually hear from the people who are happy. We hear from the people who are angry. And when I started really focusing on this a couple of years ago, I think we were down at like 2.6, 2.7. And I was just so sad. Every week, I would wait for those customer service satisfaction surveys to come in, and it popped up to 2.9 and then 3.0. And now we are around 3.4, 3.5. I mean, that is huge, considering, once again, the fact that we don't usually hear about things that people are happy about. So I just want to give a huge shout out to our store employees, because we see the value that you are providing to our customers, and it makes me at least very, very happy.
Thank you. And if I could, just to follow up, it's a scale of 1 to 5. And Commissioner Orton is correct that it was stagnant for a little while, but it's a really great opportunity for consumers, those who are handing over their hard-earned cash, right, for a purchase and for what they perceive as good customer service. This opportunity for them to provide this feedback has been very valuable, and actually helped us make changes, do a few things. It's been very valuable. So if you're out there, you want to make a comment, we really value it. Appreciate your time, both the good and the bad, right? Right. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? And also, Director, thank you for the invitation to join you on the walkthrough of the new store downtown yesterday. Cade's right, it is very impressive, and I know that a lot of work and blood, sweat, and tears have gone into that location specifically from your team, and we're looking forward to it providing a more enjoyable retail shopping experience, and also a safe one for the neighborhood as well. So thank you for that. We're going to go ahead and move forward in our agenda to our violations consent calendar. And I'll go over to Mr. McHenry for any items of note on that.
Thank you, Chair, Commissioners. We have, in addition to SBI referrals this month, we have referrals from North Salt Lake Police, Roy City Police, and West Valley. police. Just wanted to make you aware of that. We have 12 items on the consent calendar. Commissioners all have settlement agreements in place and waiting for commission action.
Okay, thank you, Sam. Commissioner Tenert, as chair of our compliance subcommittee, I'll go to you now for a readout from your committee's discussion.
Great, thank you, Chair. As we always do, the Compliance Subcommittee reviewed these items with our Attorney General, Sam McHenry, as well as Aaron Hinkle with the department. The recommendation coming out of the subcommittee is to approve the consent calendar, essentially approve the settlement agreements enumerated in the consent calendar as written. And so I'll make a motion to that effect.
Is there a second? Commissioner Terrazon, I'll give that one to you. All those in favor of approving the consent calendar, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you for that. And thank you for all the work and really digging in on those settlement agreements with Sam and Aaron, and appreciate all the work that went in on the background. Next, we'll go to licensee recognitions. These are those licensees who have passed a public covert underage program. What's the B? Buyer, thank you. Covert underage buyer, thank you. This is our favorite item of the agenda usually. So Director Clayson, I'll turn it over to you.
For December 2023, we had 24 licensees who passed their SBI Cub inspection. I think one thing that is interesting to note and to highlight here, we have some commissioners who are, masters of data and who love to really look at the numbers of things and look for patterns and trends. So as we evaluated and looked at that with one of our data loving commissioners, there were 24 inspections and there were 24 licensees who passed. And so
Percent pass rate.
I know, right? Was going to say I was educated in Louisiana, so maybe don't trust my math, but that math is actually pretty easy. So always love 100% pass rate. I'm so glad I can make us laugh today. And the thing that's great is these licensees, of course, cover the whole state of Utah. I'm looking here from Nephi to Richfield to Harriman to Midville to Ogden, Payson. Just a really good example of operators stepping up to have safe, good, sound operations, especially in regards to not serving minors.
Great, thank you. And that is a really great statistic, 100% pass rate. We'd love to see that every month. Moving on to our consent agenda. Jeremy, I understand you're going to be covering that for us for a while, so I'll pass it over to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Chair, and good morning, Commissioners. So I have the pleasure to present the consent agenda this morning. Minutes in this consent agenda will include the prior meetings minutes dated December 21st, 2023, with some but not all license applications. This consent agenda includes applications for the following types of licenses and permits: off-premise beer retail, special use scientific, type 1 and type 5 package agency, liquor warehouse, restaurant limited service, and on-premise banquet. The consent agenda does not include full-service restaurant or bar establishment applicants. Those license types have historically had license scarcity, and given the likely need for additional discussion amongst yourselves and the applicants, those will be heard and actioned separate from the consent agenda. It is important to note that all the applicants and applications for your approval on this consent agenda have been processed, vetted, and found to have met all of the statutory requirements. You, as a commission, have the preparation materials on their businesses and relevant requirements, and have reviewed the materials and had an opportunity to ask staff questions. I can answer any questions that you may have at the moment on any of these applications on the consent agenda. And if there indeed are no questions, I believe the chair will be looking for a motion.
Thank you, Jeremy. Commissioners, any questions regarding the consent agenda? Okay, I'd be looking for a motion. Thank you, Commissioner Orton. Is there a second? Thank you, Commissioner Randall. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. And thank you for all the work behind the scenes to get that in order for the commission. I know that's a lot of work. Moving on to item 10, this is license applications. We're going to start with bar establishments. And Rob, I can kind of see you back there. Thank you for being here to cover those items for the commission today. Go ahead.
The first one on the list is an extended closure. This is for the old Yellowstone Garage. They had a fire at their establishment back in October. They were granted a 90-day closure. They are about ready to start construction to repair everything. They're asking for an extended closure to the April commission for this bar establishment.
Chair, I would just move that we approve that closure. The compliance subcommittee reviewed this with Rob. If the recommendation is that it's appropriate.
Is that a motion? Okay, thank you. Is there a second for approving the extended closure? Thank you, Commissioner Randall. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you, Rob.
Next on the list, we have a change of ownership. This is Club Rumba. This application is complete and meets statutory requirements.
Why don't you go ahead and also do the ready to operate applicants?
This is available. We actually got another one back today from the consent calendar. It was a place that got a banquet license, surrendering their bar license. So that actually gives us 11 licenses now. We have 2 bars that are ready to operate. We have a Sabre Club in American Fork and On Top Lounge and Grill in Salt Lake City.
Okay, thank you. I will go ahead and go to Commissioner Tenert for a download of the subcommittee consideration for these applications.
Thank you, Chair. And of course, thank you to Rob and the team for helping us to understand the status of all of these bar establishment applications, and then also the request for the license change of ownership. If it's okay with you, Chair, I can take these in 2 pieces and give you the briefing as well as put motions forward in 2 pieces. That first one with the request for the license change of ownership for Club Caramba, the recommendation coming out of the subcommittee is to approve that license change of ownership. And so I move that we approve that change of ownership.
Is there a second? Thank you, Commissioner Orton. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you.
Right, thank you. So in reviewing I guess it would be 9 applications that we currently have before us, and still looking at, relative tightness in the amount of licenses available, and the fact that those applicants or all other applicants, so those applicants that do not currently meet our working criteria of ready to operate are not projecting an opening until after the next meeting of our commission. The recommendation coming out of the compliance subcommittee is to approve the applications for those that are listed as ready to operate. So items 1 and 2. So I'll move that we approve those applications.
Is there a second? Thank you, Commissioner Terrazon. Any discussion? Yes, Commissioner Jacobson.
Rob, with regard to these 2, they both project to open today. Is that really accurate? Thank you.
Okay, I did want to say something about the number of licenses we have. I have been made aware, as many of you have, that the legislature is currently considering changes to the quota for bar licenses and full service restaurant licenses, and that we should expect to see some sort of proposal come out from the legislature in the coming weeks around this issue. And as commissioners and as a department, we've heard from a lot of applicants about the need to award conditional licenses. As you're aware, the commission does have the ability to award a conditional license. And so we've been, hearing that and having serious conversations internally about what we need to be doing with the licenses. And I think that it's my position personally that until we actually see a proposal moving forward in the legislature and maybe even signed into law, that we are still in a position where we are operating from a place of scarcity. And the main issue that I have with awarding licenses on a conditional basis before someone's ready to open is that we need all of the ducks to be in a row, unfortunately, and people ready to go, because once we award the license, that license is encumbered for 18 months. And there is nothing that this commission can do to pull back a license if someone runs into a serious delay. That is no making of their own. Maybe it's, something that they have no control over, some outside circumstance, and we just never know what those are going to be. So we want to be as certain as possible that those scarce resources that we have as a commission are put into the best and most efficient use for the state in the time, that we have to work with. And so while I think personally, I would love to move down the list and award conditional licenses for future openings, we are just not there yet. So I would say if you're one of those applicants who has put forward an application and would like that certainty for your business, that you want a license before you're putting more money and more time, more investment, personal resources into your business, I think the legislature needs to hear from you that the increase that they're going to consider is very important. And so I just wanted to make sure that I was able to say that, because we have been hearing, about this conversation ongoing about conditional awarding of licenses. And for me personally, I'm not there yet until I have more certainty in the proposal that's being put forward. So with that, I don't know if that's opened up any thoughts for any other commissioners, but before we go to a vote, I'd like to see if there are any other thoughts. Commissioner Jacobson.
And excuse me for I'm on the back end of a head cold, so excuse me for my voice and everything. But let me, I've probably been on the commission longer than anybody else. From the very beginning, we've had to deal with this potential scarcity and what to do. And we were asked to make suggestions several years ago. We made some suggestions to the legislature about things that need to be done. But I think we are faced with a situation where we are the commission and they are the legislature. And we cannot do anything other than act within the scope of the existing law and regulations. And to that extent, I think, Madam Chair, I believe that we have to stick with this rule that we have. It's served us well to some extent. And yes, there are people who are victims because they propose to open in between our commission meetings. And that means in some cases, they may have to wait 2 weeks to open, and they have to hang on to their staff. They have to do all of these things. And as we've said several years ago to our members in the community who are interested in licenses, it's really very, very important that they contact the legislature now. We cannot be the advocates for them in connection with that. They're the ones who operate the business. And if you operate a business, you know what you want. And the legislature, for the most part, does not operate a bar or even a restaurant. And they don't understand the problems of keeping staff, and they don't understand the problems that you have in being put in a position where you're going to open in between commission meetings, and yet you have to hang on to everything. And so to that extent, I think it's very, very important that we encourage the community to tell the legislature what they want and what they think will work for them. But until such time as the legislature does something different, this has worked well for us. And as you will note, even though we have 11 bar licenses, if we give two, we're down to 9. And we have 9 and we have 7 people this month waiting. So what happens next month is always the question. So I think you've done well in connection with how you've laid it out, as well as your communications with the legislature. And I just will also encourage everybody else who's got a stake in this to contact the legislature.
Sure, Handy.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner Jacobson. One addition to that, though, just maybe a caveat, and that is having had that experience. But I think most legislators, however, recognize and want Utah to be perceived as a business-friendly state, and that want to be able to have businesses operate within the law. We have some tricky things around here, as we all know. And I think that they want to have it operate. But my other part of the question is with Director, maybe to you and to the Chair. Would you keep us apprised as you can about ongoing discussions with the legislative leads on the process of the bill? Are you saying, Madam Chair, that the language I haven't checked, but there's no language yet?
That's correct.
It's in negotiation. Yeah, all right.
That's, yeah. And to that point, Commissioner Handy, you are so well aware of this process. And I want to reiterate how grateful I am to our legislative leads. They have a very, very difficult job. And the fact that they're considering, this issue as a priority and are working towards the end of, the licensees and business owners that this commission interacts with. I am very grateful for their attention to this. And it's a pivotal time for these concerns to be heard.
I believe that, and I'm not speaking for Governor Cox, of course, no one is here, but I believe the governor is in favor of some relaxation, some changes. Whoever can address that.
Clayson can speak for the governor.
Yeah, the governor has been interviewed and asked about this on a number of occasions, and he is supportive of a legislative solution that would address this. I think he always makes a point to recognize that in Utah, we love that we have a safe place to live. We have some of the lowest underage drinking rates. Our Sharp survey shows that it's yet on the decline yet again. We have relatively very low DUI rates in comparison to other states. And so we know that those are all things that we get to enjoy: safe streets, safe sidewalks, safe environments, partially because of decisions policymakers have made of trying to find that balance between that economic development and being business friendly, and then marrying that with public health and safety. And so he has been very supportive, definitely believes that there is a way to strike that balance in a legislative solution so that things can move forward and you guys aren't dealing with scarcity every month. And so I think that's what I would say about that.
Thank you. I'm just reiterate one more time, as appropriate, if you could keep communication with us about the status of that as appropriate, that you can communicate with us. We're not going to get together again until February 28th or 29th. What is it? 28th, 29th. And that will be pretty well cooked by then because the legislature adjourns on the 1st, right?
Commissioner Handy, Director Clayson and I have spoke about this along with the subcommittee chairs, and we plan on having subcommittee meetings before the next commission meeting in order to keep everybody in the loop. So thank you for that feedback. And now, Vicky, we have a motion and a second. Am I right? Okay. Well, then we'll go ahead and move to the vote. And as a reminder, this is on the license change of ownership for Carumba and approving the ready to operate applicants. Yes. Oh, thank you. Yes. Okay. So all those in favor of approving the license change of ownership for Club Carumba, is that right? Okay. Please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, now I'd be looking for a motion to approve the ready to operate application.
I'll go ahead and make that motion because I think I've gotten myself confused. So just to be very clear, my motion is that we approve the ready to operate applicants items 1 and 2.
Second. Thank you, Commissioner Handy. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. We'll move down to full service restaurant applications. Understand there are some extended closure requests. Rob, thank you so much. And Craig.
Extended closure investment. Access to the establishment's supply chain and staffing.
Commissioner Randall, understand that your subcommittee was able to discuss this. You want to give us a readout?
Chair. So thank you, Craig and staff, for helping us navigate this with the restaurants. The operations subcommittee met and we would make the motion to approve the extended closure for numbers 1 and 2.
Is there a second? I'm sorry, was that a motion? Okay, thank you. Is there a second? Thank you, Commissioner Orton. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Now we've got a change of ownership.
Sweet South Shore, Salt Lake City. It is conditional for a business license swap, otherwise it is complete as with statutory requirements.
Their motion?
Motion to approve the license change of ownership for business suites.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Randall, is there a second? Commissioner Orton, thank you. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, moving on to the next batch of ready to operate applicants.
Two listed as ready to operate. Opposite where per city. Operator 7 Eagle Mountain. Openings are complete and meet statutory requirements. Operator 7 does have the history.
Randall?
Thank you. I just wanted to make one comment from the committee and after the narrative too around the bar licenses, we will note that there are 45 available restaurant licenses with the pre-summer as well. So that's what we are looking at from the restaurant point of view, right at this point. Based on our conversations with Ready to Operate, we did acknowledge that there was a violation history with Taqueria. We felt comfortable after having conversations with the subcommittee and with staff and how staff has worked with that licensee to move forward and to award the license to Ready to Operate applicants 1 and 2.
Is there a second? Thank you, Commissioner Orton. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, moving on to other applicants. I'll just go to Commissioner Randall and ask if there was discussion around other applicants and a recommendation from staff and your subcommittee on any approvals.
So as we've talked about since October with seeing the number of restaurant licenses that we have, we still have 45, well, now I should adjust my number. So now we have 42 licenses, but we're still in a comfortable place where we feel that we can afford additional licenses as there aren't any significant construction concerns. And as we've talked to staff and worked with Craig, we feel comfortable with moving forward with items 1 through 5 and awarding those. I will also acknowledge that there is a violation history for number 5. I had a conversation with staff there with moving forward with that. So the motion on the table from our subcommittee is toward all other applicants number 1 through 5.
Is there a second? Thank you. Any discussion? I will just say we are in the same position with full service restaurant licenses as bar applicants. 40 might sound like a lot, but we've seen months where we approve 10 restaurants at a time who are ready to open. So that it might seem like a lot, but it's not. And again, we really appreciate the legislature addressing this in the quota discussion as well. And also appreciate the committee and staff really digging in and for us being able to award conditional licenses for people who are just right at the crux of being ready to open. So I will go ahead and call the question. Oh, Commissioner Jacobson, yes.
I just want to clarify for the record, Craig, all of these five, you're really convinced that they're going to be open before our next commission.
It's, the projected dates on this, that those items and those applicants are currently suspensions, conversation.
Nobody's waiting for things that are in the supply chain, like parts or refrigerators or anything like that. They've got all their equipment, all their tables and chairs.
It's the best of our knowledge. Place, it's just that.
And then I'd like to go to Commissioner Randall for another clarification she wanted to make.
And since we've navigated this since October, we did want to share to the public as well that all the conditional licenses since awarded, the restaurants are now open. And so we appreciate that. I also wanted to just make one note as well. There was another licensee that we were going to award conditional, number 6, and they came forward and said they'd like to wait. So we appreciate it when licensees are honest with us, upfront with us as a commission, especially as we're navigating this scarcity.
I also wanted to mention, I've mentioned this in meetings prior, but we've talked as a subcommittee and we have determined that 30 licenses is where we really feel like we are in a place of scarcity. And so we are getting near that. Because there have been times, as you well remember, when we had 18 applications for restaurants who were ready to open. And so we feel comfortable with hitting a scarcity at 30.
Commissioner Jacobson.
You know, we've tried to be as objective as possible on things. And maybe one of the things we should consider is when we get to scarcity, what defines scarcity? So by way of example, as Commissioner Orton just said, we could define scarcity, you know, we got to a certain number. It might also be possible to define scarcity when we get to a point based on our previous history that we don't, that we are down to less than like 3 months average of license issuances, so that we are in that point so people can prepare. By way of example, if you were planning to open a bar and you were on the list and been on the list for quite a while, and you weren't going to open for you know, maybe some time, the thing is that you probably would want to know, when are they going to start treating us as actually having to have everything in place and ready to turn the key at the end of the day. And so to that extent, you know, we might look at defining what scarcity is in both bar licenses as well as restaurant licenses.
I think that might be a worthwhile conversation to have between meetings.
But just clarify that the way we came up, or the way we've kind of come up with 30 is that is the point where we went into scarcity last year. When we hit the point where we only had 30 licenses left, we considered it scarce.
So we have a motion to approve other applicants 1 through 5 and a second. So all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, congratulations. We are now at our last agenda item. We'll go, and Craig, thank you so much. We'll go to comments. I'll turn to Vicky to see if we have any public comments signed up. I understand there's no one online. Um, um, there was, So Delicious Japanese wasabi. Did they still want to speak? May have signed up. Maybe we covered you. Okay. Any other public comments? Okay, I'm gonna go to Director Clayson for one more, comment from the department.
Thank you. I apologize for the surprise. We meant to cover it in our operations. Jeremy, would you cover the violations policy public comment period item?
Sure, happy.
Thank you.
Happy to do that. Just two things, commissioners, before we adjourn today. The commission policy application consideration with violation history. The public comment due date is today, close of business. So for those who have not yet done so, you may submit your comments to dabscompliance@utah.gov. That's dabscompliance@utah.gov. And the second piece is a reminder for the public, the January renewal campaign that's ongoing at the moment. On-time renewal deadline is January 31st. Late renewals are due February 10th, 2024, and they are relating to the following license types: restaurant beer only, on-premise beer rec, on-premise tavern, and off-premise beer retailer.
Any other comments from commissioners? Yes.
Can I just reiterate, just the importance of making public comment as Jeremy's outlined? You'll recall that we've heard some feedback about this policy where we currently don't consider new license applications within 3 months after the adjudication of a previous violation. And so this is just the commission responding to some of that feedback, trying to kind of understand what the public sentiment is around this issue, so that we, as we're kind of thinking about what our path looks like moving forward, that we have the public's input on that. So just please, if you have opinions on that, please submit them by, as you said, Jeremy, today. Thank you.
Thanks, Chair. With that, we are adjourned, non-debatable, I guess. Okay.